Good evening, everyone. Welcome to ixamBee. I am very happy to share with you that today we have Mr. Sanjay Naveen join us. He is ex-deputy general manager of SIDBI with almost 25 years of experience at SIDBI. Very interesting. Sir is one of the first direct recruits to be hired when SIDBI. So in 1991, Sir had joined uh, SIDBI, and as you all may be aware, that SIDBI as an organization came into existence in 1990. So he's from the first batch, seen and grown with SIDBI. And worked in almost all the departments at SIDBI. Currently, Sir heads and is the MD and CEO of an NBFC, Kanika Investments. So thank you so much, Sir, for coming and joining us today, taking out time to share your experience and guide the young students who are aspiring for SIDBI Grade A officers this year.
My pleasure, Prachi.
So, thanks from the entire team of iXamB. And so, to start with, as you were telling, you're the first recruits in SIDBI, and you had just completed your marketing MBA in marketing. So, how from a person who's done his MBA in marketing land up in a very niche, new development financial institution?
Yeah, thanks, Prachi. Yes, I completed my MBA in the year 1990 and majored in marketing and was working for a private company in marketing for about 5 6 months initially. And that time, SIDBI was an unknown organization. Even I was not aware what SIDBI exactly means, or even people in my circle also did not have much understanding. And there was a small ad, as I was mentioning, this big an ad in the newspaper about recruitment of officers in grade A, and that time it was called staff officers. What what is now being termed as assistant manager, that time it was sorry, staff officers grade A, and the requirement was first class graduates or first class postgraduates, something like that, if I remember. And I had applied not knowing where exactly I am applying to. And fortunately, I was through in the written examination. It was an all India written examination, and then it was an interview. And I was posted. My first posting was in Cochin. I was in Delhi working in a private company, and my parents had received the appointment letter at Allahabad. So, since the posting was in Cochin it was called, not Kochi as it is called now.
Yeah.
Um, so they were not very sure whether I would be moving out to Cochin for joining. But yes, I took the challenge, moved to Cochin. We were around 42 people who were the first batch of directly recruited officers in SIDBI. SIDBI, as you know, was a wholly owned subsidiary of IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India. IDBI was the development financial institutions. See, in the initial years after independence, when the industrialization was happening, the government has formed certain development financial institutions like ICICI, like IFCI,
I do.
like IDBI.
Yeah,
These were
right.
development financial institutions. And SIDBI happened to be a small department within IDBI. But as the importance of MSMEs were then known as SSIs, small scale industries, as the importance of SSI was growing, it was felt that the sector needs focused attention. And just being a department within IDBI probably was not serving the purpose. That's how the government carved out this department into an independent organization called SIDBI. And we were a wholly owned subsidiary of IDBI initially. I was posted in Cochin, and I was initially looking after the finance. That was the main area of activity of business of SIDBI at that point in time. Refinancing, we were providing bulk lending to the primary lending institutions, which are banks and state financial corporations. And that time, the resources were scarce for the banks, so they were dependent on loan amounts from SIDBI, and these banks were taking loans from us and giving it further to the SSIs, and which were later on termed as MSMEs. MSMEs, as you all know, is nomenclature for micro, small,
Micro.
medium enterprises.
Right.
MSMEs currently in the country is one of the most important sector in the
Right.
country. It contributes 40% in exports. It employs maximum number of people after agriculture, and it's developing very fast.
It's
The
very fast, very fast.
government
And
has
we
been,
can see that with the government also,
yeah,
talking about it in the budget,
absolutely,
highlighting it, and even in the Atmanirbhar packages that came because of COVID. This was
absolutely,
one sector that was supported through and through,
yeah,
whether by government or by RBI.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So slowly, SIDBI became an independent organization, and as the refinance business started drying up, SIDBI ventured into direct
Yes.
lending directly to the MSMEs. And
Mhm.
that time we had made a lot of risk assessment models, lot of rating tools to lend to MSMEs in the shortest possible format, in the shortest possible time. See, the availability of credit for the
Yeah.
MSMEs is very important, but more importantly, it is the timing of the credit and the amount of credit. So if
Mhm.
the small MSMEs are running around places of banks and spend months together to get credit, that became a challenge. That is why SIDBI had uh, utilized alternative methods of providing credit to the MSMEs.
Mhm.
And yeah, coming back to my journey from Cochin, I was then when SIDBI started direct financing. So I was one of the first persons who was trained and given the portfolio of lending directly to the MSMEs. And after that, I was in head office Lucknow. I was posted in HR. I looked after promotions, recruitment, staff welfare matters, association matters. These are important aspects in the
Yes.
life of SIDBI officers. Staff welfare is a very important aspect. And
So, so when you touch upon this, if I go into a little more detail, something that would be interesting for the students to hear,
yeah.
what all facilities and salaries and perks, of course, is there, but what are the benefits and the work life culture that SIDBI employees can expect, future prospective ones?
So I would say not because I have worked in SIDBI, uh, it is one of the best organizations to work in. One of the best organizations, and I'm saying out of experience of public sector, and now that I'm working in private sector.
Mhm.
There is a lot of work, lot of learning opportunity to the young talents, young officers who join the organization, because now SIDBI is not just limited to providing credit. There are a number of activities that SIDBI does. Venture
Mhm.
capital, for example, microfinance, for example, rating, for example, credit guarantee for micro and small enterprises. See, these are all niche areas and all independent organizations. These are all independent organizations within the umbrella of SIDBI. So there's
Yes.
huge potential of growth for the young officers who join SIDBI. The salary and all is almost at par with RBI, the salary structure. The salary revision takes place every 5 years. There is an annual increment methodology where a performance appraisal methodology is there, and then annually the employees get increments. Besides the salary, there are a number of facilities which the officers have. Uh, One is majorly is the accommodation,
Mhm.
uh, particularly in metro cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Kolkata, where the cost of living and cost of getting a house is very exorbitant. SIDBI has its own flats,
Okay.
multiple flats, which are given to the officers according to seniority, obviously. And within the flats also there are multiple facilities which the officers are given, of small white goods allowances and other things. There are lot of subsidized loans available to SIDBI officers, like housing loan, vehicle loan, white goods loans. So all these loans are available at a much cheaper rate as compared to market prices, market rates. There are so many reimbursements like petrol reimbursements, driver's salary reimbursement. Obviously, driver's salary will come to slightly senior officers, not to the grade
Mhm.
A officers. Telephone reimbursements, mobile reimbursements. There are
Lot of.
many facilities which do not form the part of the compensation package which is being shown in the as a CTC.
Yes, yes.
There are also one most important aspect is medical facilities. There is a concept of bank medical officer. We have a doctor at all major centers who attends to the families of the officers, and also the officers are eligible for reimbursement of costs incurred on other medical exigencies or medicines or even hospitalization. So SIDBI takes care of its officers, if I may say so.
Yes, so a lot of benefits, of course, are there, and as you mentioned, it's almost at par with RBI employees, and they do get revision in salaries also. So I think Arunima Sinha was also associated with iExam. He was also mentioning that the gross salary that has been mentioned in the notification is before the revision, so that revision is due. So from the perks salary points of view, I think you don't have to worry about
Absolutely not.
the
Absolutely not.
job. So coming to the other aspect, like you said, there's so much opportunity, and you yourself, when had started the marketing, and then you entered into the credit aspect. Of course, you were trained, and a lot of international trainings also is what you have been exposed to. So could you throw some light on those?
Yeah. So when this new batch of officers join, as much as I remember, they are all given induction training. Almost 2 weeks induction program is provided, residential program to all the officers, where they are given a basic understanding of the functioning of SIDBI and various departments like credit, like microfinance, like venture capital, like HR, admin, corporate account, everything in a capsule of say about 15 days. They are given an induction program, and then they are put on job where they are with some of the assistant general managers reporting to AGMs, and most of the training happens while being on the job. They work with their seniors under the guidance of their seniors, and they learn. Then there are a lot of trainings, Prachi, as you mentioned, both domestic as well as international. Domestic trainings are provided, focus trainings on microfinance or credit rating or risk management, operations management. A lot of trainings are provided in-house within SIDBI, as also they are deputed to other organizations like IIMs and other organizations which conduct training programs. Besides, there are also opportunities for some selected few to go for international trainings, international conferences. I have been fortunate enough, as I was mentioning to you, as a very junior officer, as a grade B, as a manager, I was sent to England for a training on HR. I have been to Germany. I have been to Italy. I have been to Philippines.
Wow.
All thanks to SIDBI and on different areas. As I said, SIDBI doesn't believe in making specialist officers. Every person, every talented person who shows interest in the working of the organization will get an opportunity to work in different areas, different departments, and different verticals. And while he or she is there in different department, he or she would get an opportunity to get trained in those areas, both domestically as well as internationally.
So again, I think nobody needs to worry from the perks salary point of view, and they don't even need to worry from the opportunities that they may get. If one is willing to take up the challenges, I'm sure there's no dearth of opportunities to grow in the organization
Absolutely.
and be trained for those opportunities. Sir, queries coming to the transfer policy of SIDBI, and because SIDBI has its headquarters in Lucknow and not in one of the four metros in our country. So, is there any preferences given or any transfer policy per se or any rule as to how the postings are done?
So yeah, SIDBI has its head office at Lucknow. Absolutely no two opinions about it. But SIDBI has a very big corporate office in Mumbai, in BKC, Bandra Kurla complex, and a reasonably big setup head office in Delhi also. So what I mean to say, while the official head office continues to remain in Lucknow, Mumbai and Delhi also provide lot of avenues for posting besides being branch and regional offices. So generally, when a person is posted in a branch office, the tenure may be between 3 to 4 years. But once in a one when one is in a head office department in Lucknow, Mumbai, or in Delhi, the tenure of stay could be much bigger also, much longer also. So the meaning to say that if a person is posted in Delhi branch, as per policy, after 3 years or after 4 years, he has to be shifted from the branch. That's from the vigilance requirement. Vigilance requirement is there that a person cannot be posted too long on a sensitive desk, and a branch posting is considered to be a sensitive desk. So from Delhi branch office, he may move to Delhi regional office or Delhi head office department. There are certain head office departments in Delhi, so he or she would move there. So the duration of stay in metros could be much longer, maybe 7, 8 years also. And SIDBI has been, as an institution, has been very considerate with lady officers.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do take care of lady officers' requirement, particularly if their spouses are working in public sector. Lady officers, when they have children appearing in board examinations or that time. So generally, if they are due for transfer, there is though there is no written down policy, but yes, the practice has been that the officers are generally given some relaxation in such circumstances. But mentally, I think the youngsters who are appearing for the exam should be willing to be relocated between three
Yes.
to 4 years,
Yes. Yes.
and that's
That's a
good.
given.
Out of
Yes.
my experience, I'm sharing with you, because I also had a lot of difficulty being a North Indian pakka UP ka bhaiya from Allahabad. I was posted to Cochin. I had a lot of difficulty, language, food, everything. But then now I realize, as I grew in the organization, those experiences matter a lot.
True, true. And I think initially these hiccups may look as challenges, but all the people that I have talked to and the experience that they've had in different locations, they're very happy that they went through it.
Yep,
That's how
absolutely.
truly you grow and know about it. And we are lucky to have such a wide culture in our country and experience it. So why not? So
Absolutely.
yes, yes.
That's absolutely. And you get to know, as you rightly said, the culture, the people, even the industry, the sector that you are serving, the MSME sector in Kerala, it's completely different from the MSME sector in Punjab.
Yes,
Yeah. So I have
true.
had the opportunity to work in Cochin, Lucknow, Ludhiana, Mumbai also on deputation. Then I was branch head in Dehradun.
Dehradun, yes.
Then I was again posted in microfinance department in Lucknow. Then from there I came to Delhi. I was the branch head of Delhi branch office also. So I've traveled length and breadth of the country, and everybody gets the opportunity.
True. So some eligibility related points, I don't know how much you can help with that, but as of now in this recruitment, the eligibility consists of students from bachelor's degree of LLB and from engineering and post graduation in any. So any particular thoughts, what kind of candidates is SIDBI looking at, and why not allowing simple graduates who may have done a BCom or a BA
So,
degree?
Prachi, this has evolved over a period of time. As I
Mhm,
mentioned earlier, when I had applied for this job in the year 1991, that time the requirement was any graduate or postgraduate with first class.
mhm, mhm,
First class, postgraduate, or graduate. But over the years, as whenever there's a need, like I'll tell you, in the year I think 95 or 96, when we started direct finance, there was a need for hiring engineers, people with engineering and finance background. So there was
mhm.
that year the advertisement had greater focus on engineers with
Engineers,
financial
yes.
background. I was going through the advertisement currently out for SIDBI. I think law graduates, engineer graduates, and postgraduates in any
Any discipline, yeah.
discipline. So, as I mentioned, SIDBI believes in generalist officers,
Mhm, mhm.
and
True.
they train the people, and basis their performance, basis their experience, they keep transferring people, not only in, as far as location is concerned, but also verticals, different
Vertical.
departments, different areas of functioning. See,
True.
it is
True.
not rocket science. I mean, it is not
Yes.
rocket science what SIDBI does. It is only sincerity, hard work, and dedication to the work and to the organization. That's about it. And SIDBI will give you enough training, both on the job as well as off desk also, so that the people, the youngsters who join the organization, are capable of handling the responsibilities.
So one little update I'll just put in here. So today, SIDBI has come out with a revised eligibility criteria in terms of education, and they've removed the criteria of percentage required. So initially they had mentioned 60%, but today they have revised it. So the 60% criteria has been removed. So
Okay.
you should go ahead and apply. So SIDBI is, I think, very kind in not putting that criteria. So I think you should definitely take advantage of that opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, like you mentioned, very, very important critical points for any candidate: sincerity, dedication towards the organization, and a willingness to keep learning and evolving. So, you kind of answered it, but if I ask, as some students want to know, what exactly should they be preparing and looking for in an interview when they are preparing, and what kind of a weightage would interview have in their overall selection?
So interview would be more of a chit chat. I have been on the panels of interviewing officers being recruited in SIDBI while I was in service. Uh, Large part, a lot of focus and lot of weightage would be given to your written marks, written examination marks. I think 60-40, it keeps on changing, it's evolving, so it's dynamic. So nothing can be said with certainty that it's static. But a good amount of weightage is given to the interview also. A person who is appearing for the interview, first of all, he or she should be very clear about the subjects that he has graduated or postgraduated in. So there could be a possibility that somebody is on the panel and who happens to be from the same background, same subject. So you should be prepared, and you cannot say that हमने तो ये 4 साल पहले किया था, मुझे याद नहीं है. You know, there are
Yeah.
people who come from commerce background or somebody from engineering, and they are asked about a chemical engineering question because a person sitting on panel happened to be a chemical engineer,
Chemical.
है ना?
True.
तो सर वो तो हमने 4 साल पहले किया था, I don't remember. So this is very important. Whatever subject you have graduated or postgraduated in, you should be thorough with your subject. One. Two, do not try to fool around with the panel.
Yeah.
please
Very, very important.
please understand that the people, 3 or 4 people who are sitting across the table, are much more experienced and knowledgeable than you. So if you do not know anything, please say so. Sorry, I don't remember, or I do not know. Don't try to fool around or give excuses. Be very clear in your thought process. There might be some questions which may not have right or wrong answers, but there might be a discussion on a certain point. So you should be very clear on your thought process. Do not be critical about anything
Mhm.
in the world. I feel so. This is
Yeah.
again my very personal opinion. At least in
Very
the
true.
interview, why should be critical about anything, about government policies, about the status of the Indian economy, or anything? You should not be critical about it. That's my personal viewpoint, and I have been following it ever since I was a young student out of the college. And should be very thorough with the current affairs. Whatever is happening in the economy, particularly in the banking sector, in the MSME sector, something great is happening within the country or abroad. Read the newspapers. There have been instances where interviewers have asked, "What is that? Give me 2, 3 headlines in today's newspaper,
Interview. Mhm.
or what happened yesterday." Then some people are also asked about their strengths and weaknesses. Now, again, there are no right or wrong answers for these, but the
True.
students are advised to be mentally prepared, mentally make a note of these things. कि हमसे पूछा जाएगा तो what will I say? What are my
Yes.
strengths and what are my weaknesses? And then you should be able to explain and defend this.
Very, very important. And this is something I think very easily neglected
Yeah.
because people think, what is there to prepare? But I think it's the most difficult to talk about yourself than anything else.
So again, at the cost of repetition, Prachi, I would suggest all the students who are listening or logged into this video, please make mental note of your strengths and weaknesses. This is very important.
Absolutely, very important. Absolutely, it's very important points that you mentioned about interviews, and this is, I think, true with any kind of interview they may go for. So there's one question again from a student, that in interviews, if a student has had a substantial gap between the education and now if they go for SIDBI and it's not really filled by a particular work experience or any UPSC preparation, then does that hamper their chances of
No, no,
selections?
not exactly. See, again, you have to be very clear, very transparent. What have you been doing so long? That question will come to you definitely. If you have completed your post graduation 4 years back and you have nothing to show, no work experience to show since then you should be very clear. This question will come to you, and you should be prepared. And my suggestion would be to be honest, to be very honest and transparent with what you have been doing, whether you have been preparing for UPSC, or there have been some problem in the family, or you have been running your father's business and then suddenly decide that you want to take a job. Whatever has happened, be very honest and clear.
True, true. Yes, so it's basically the way you answer rather than what you are giving the answer as. That is more important because this is again something, doesn't have a right or a wrong. It is about how you handle it and how you
Absolutely,
respond it.
absolutely. And no need to enter into any argument with the panel.
Yeah,
Sometimes what happens, in the interest of, in the anxiety of proving a point, the students or the candidates enter into a sort of an argumentative posture. Please avoid it.
very, very true. Very nicely put. Actually, I think all the points related to interview and preparation is so relevant for all the students today. So one more question they're asking about uh, the service bond that are usually mentioned in these organizations. And it's not just with SIDBI. Most of the organizations, government organizations, would have a 2 years or a 3 years, depending on organization, a service bond. So, how do students look at it when they are preparing? Should they be scared of it? Should they keep this in mind? Or not?
See, it's a necessity which has come up because when the students they join such an organization, whether it's SEBI, RBI, SIDBI, or something like that, these are specialized institutions, and institution invests a lot in the young students, young candidates, in the sense that they are given a lot of training, both on the job and otherwise also, as I mentioned earlier. So whatever has been invested in these candidates, if the candidates uh, they are not expected to perform and start working from day one. Actually, the performance would come maybe 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years down the line, when they'll slowly start taking up individual responsibility, independent responsibility. So, so from the organization's perspective, it becomes a loss-making proposition when the candidates join and after 1 year or 1.5 years, they leave and go for other organizations. The candidates need not be scared about this, but this is something which you should keep in mind. And I'm not sure ये bond 2 साल का है कि 3 साल का है. I'm not sure how much they have put in this advertisement.
I think it's 3 years that they have mentioned.
3 year
Or
bond. See,
yeah.
because the confirmation or the officers who join the organization, they are put on probation for 2 years. So after completion of 2 years, in the next quarter, they are confirmed as a grade A officer. So probably that's why they have put a 2 to 3 year bond.
3 years. Yes, so I think that is something. If you are looking to grow in the organization, you shouldn't be worried about it.
Absolutely.
So yes. So Rahul, your question related to job profile, sir has already taken up, so you can see the recording later on. And to your question, why SIDBI wants engineers? I think SIDBI has not mentioned that they want engineers. They have made it open to any person who has a postgraduate in any discipline. They may give a preference to few engineering degrees that they have mentioned, and that could be because of project financing. I am assuming that you
Absolutely,
will
you're
be
right.
able to contribute because SIDBI does finance a lot of projects that ways. So, but otherwise, it is open to all kind of educational backgrounds that you may have. So let's not draw that conclusion. And CA articleship will be considered or giving a benefit. Uh, Atul, I think CAs are eligible. So I don't think anything above and over that any preference. It depends totally upon your performance. So few questions I am taking up,
Yeah.
which
You're
students
making my
are
life
asking.
easier.
So do sir, please pitch in whatever you can add from
Sure.
recruitment, your experience from recruitment that you can tell about. So yes, that's mostly about career growth and promotional aspects. Again, Manish, we had taken up in detail. If you had missed that, you can see the recording later on to clear that. Fine. Yeah.
One thing, Prachi, just on the career prospects. So there are positions I would like to explain. I don't think all the students may be aware of the positions that are in SIDBI.
Yes.
You join as a grade A officer. There are three classes of staff in SIDBI. One is class one, that is officers, in which the students would be joining. Then there is a class three staff, subordinate staff, with clerical staff, bare minimum, very few. And then there is class 4 employees. We do not in SIDBI, we do not have a class 2 employees. So it's an officer oriented organization. Almost 80% of the staff of SIDBI is officers. Okay, and officers are provided with all officer like amenities. I'm telling you, you will feel like an officer once you join the organization. You will not be running ki बैठने की जगह नहीं है, phone नहीं है. Everything will be provided. You will feel like an officer from day one. That is part one. Second point that I was trying to make is you join as an assistant manager, then there is a manager, then assistant general manager, then deputy general manager, then general manager, and chief general manager. So there are six cadres within the organization. And out of experience, I'm telling you, a person, a directly recruited officer who joins as a grade A officer and is hardworking and sincere and willing to take opportunities, willing to take challenges, he or she would definitely become a chief general manager before he or she retires. Then this is the maximum career growth that a person can think of. Beyond that, there are board level positions which are government of India appointees, like deputy managing director or a chairman. And some of the officers of which I know, whom I know, have joined with me and became deputy managing director of SIDBI and now chairman of another organization also. He's CMD of another organization. So what I'm trying to say, there's enough opportunity for bright people to grow with the organization. There are a lot of other subsidiaries and associate companies of SIDBI,
Should be true.
like SIDBI Venture Capital Limited, like Credit Guarantee Trust for Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises, like India SME Asset Reconstruction Company, like NCGTC, like Mudra. A lot of
Mudra.
people would
True.
have heard of Mudra. So
Yeah.
there are the staff from these. They are staff from within SIDBI.
Should be.
So
Yes.
SIDBI officers are put on deputation to these organizations. So
Mhm.
there's another growth prospects. Like my batchmates who are now general managers and chief general managers in SIDBI, they are also CEOs of these associate companies. One is the CEO of SVCL, another is the CEO of Mudra.
Yes.
You see, so within the organization and within the bouquet of organizations that SIDBI has, there's a lot of growth opportunities.
So yes, I think in conclusion, there's no dearth of opportunities if you are willing to take them up. I think, and a few repetitive questions again. Niranjan Soni, related to interview weightage, it's not clearly mentioned in the notification yet, but I'm sure they will do after the exam is over. However, from Sir's experience, he has mentioned it could range from 20 to 40%, anywhere between that. Uh, Rahul, related to foreign tours and work, again, sir has discussed and told about these in detail. The timing and the work pressure and the work life, sir, I think you've already kind of
Yeah.
mentioned it,
So
but anything you want to add to it?
SIDBI still follows 5 days a week culture, but with a caveat that on Saturdays sometimes people are required to work. We get enough leaves, number of leaves. There's a medical leave, there's an earned leave, there's a casual leave. A lot of leaves are available, and 5 days week give you a lot of time for your family and other activities. So off and on, you may be asked to work on a Saturday. One should be mentally prepared for that. But it's a very wonderful work-life balance in Sydney.
Thank you. So now I think mostly we're getting repetitive questions. I'll suggest all of you to please, if you have joined in later or missed a part, you can please see the recording. We've answered all these questions related to work, work profile, growth, interviews, preparation, and everything. If you are looking for information as to how to prepare for written and interview exams, iXamB also offers such guidance, and it has been done and prepared under the guidance of Arunima Sinha, who herself has been with SIDBI, and sir has also worked with ma'am. So sir, anything you would want to add in relation to that about Arunima ma'am and her dedication towards
See, I
work
know
and all?
Arunima as an officer who has been a fighter. I have always used this term for her. A wonderful person, one very humble, very down to earth person, but fighter to the core. Even when she was working with me, she has been my colleague. We have worked together in Dehradun branch. Wonderful person to work with, and I'm very excited, very impressed by the journeys, by the large, huge leaps that she has taken in this entrepreneurship venture. And my best wishes to her, you, and her, the entire team. And I would suggest the students who are joining in this iExam B to really work hard, give their best shot for the exam, and then prepare for the interview. Out of my experience, I'm telling you, it is one of the best organizations in the country to work in.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And it was a pleasure listening to you. And with patience, you have answered every query of the students today. I'm sure this will help them, motivate them to prepare and give their best and make a career with SIDBI and even ahead. So, from on behalf of the students and the entire team of XMB, again, so a lot of thanks for taking out time today to come
Thank
on.
you. Thanks, Prachi, and all the best to the students.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye. Take care.